I'm the Assistant Director for Prospect Management at UC Berkeley, and I gave a presentation at AFP called Level Up with PD. And unfortunately, when we wanted to do the demonstration of these free prospect research resources, which was part of our handout, we were unable to do so because we had some technical difficulties and we didn't have the internet connected up to our presentation computer. So I'm going to go through some of these now. I'm not going to go through every single resource, but I'm going to go through a demo, sort of a real life situation. But this is the handout. If for some reason you didn't download it or you still need it, feel free to contact me. Otherwise, it was part of the materials that was already provided. So I'm going to close out of this and get onto a window for us to do the demonstration. So again, my presentation was Level Up with PD, and we're just going to go through some of these free resources. So let's just say that you were doing some research, maybe you're an environmental organization, and you happen to come across a billionaire, Mr. Tom Steyer. Isn't it always the case that we find these people who are very wealthy and we know that they would be perfect for our organization or cause, and we just want to figure out how to contact them. If we get in front of them, for sure they're going to want to give us money. Well, we'll take Tom Steyer as the example throughout this entire demo, and I will just show you some of the pitfalls of some of the resources, particularly when you're looking for really high-profile individuals. So first, we're going to start with LinkedIn. And I think LinkedIn is always a really good place to start, just because there's so much information and so many people these days are utilizing LinkedIn as a resource. So hopefully you have a LinkedIn account. If you don't, feel free to sign up for one, and feel free to connect with me if you so desire. So if you go into LinkedIn, you can just go as soon as you're signed in this top section, and you can search. As you can see, I was doing a search earlier, but I was spelling it wrong, which is never going to get you the results you want. Steyer. So you could just do this. I'm gonna, search Tom Steyer. You get some previewed information, and this is the guy we want, Next Gen Climate. He's quite popular, so he will come up rather quickly. But I want to show you some other ways that you can use LinkedIn search before we actually click into his record. So when you start into this box, if you don't type anybody's name, you can go down here to this thing that says search for people with filters. That is the new version of what used to be LinkedIn's advanced search feature. If you work for a higher ed institution, this is a fantastic resource. First of all, I want to tell you, you always want to click this third plus connections box. You want to search everybody, not only the people you're connected to. You might not be able to look at everything on their profile, but you certainly don't want to limit the list of people to your connections. So I don't know why that didn't select. Okay, so if you are a higher ed institution, you for sure, and you're looking for alumni, the easiest way to do it is to click in here into these schools. So of course, when I'm searching for my own work, I'm going to click into UC Berkeley. Now, these are kind of your filters. We're searching for anybody who goes to UC Berkeley. I can limit this to the Bay Area or LA or other things you can just add here. So, I don't know, what would be something to add? Chicago. And it will start giving you how they describe their areas. So obviously Greater Chicago is something that you could select. I know Tom is actually a graduate of Yale, so let's deselect UC Berkeley. Sometimes it's slow, it kind of rejiggers the whole system when it's changing algorithms. So I'm going to say add, and I'm going to type in Yale. Yale University. Some schools you'll know have, like I see Yale Law School, Yale School of Management. Often, especially if they were an undergrad, it will just be under the primary school, but something to be aware of. You might want to do a couple more searches if you have different criteria that you want to be looking for. Then we're going to go back up to our search screen, and we're going to search Tom Steyer. Well, again, he's the top of the list because he's, quite well-known guy. So great. Now we know which company he works at. If you scroll down, you can see other places that he's working, as well as his schools. So I knew he went to Yale. He also attended Stanford. Sometimes people have more information. You might be able to find connections based on endorsements or other things. Okay, so the next step is maybe looking up his company, right? We want to try to contact him, so let's see what his website says. Next Gen. Okay, well, look, Tom Steyer, he comes up straight away. I can tell you just from experience, most of the time, these principal top level people, they might have a bio or a page. Rarely are you going to be able to find their email from this type of stuff. So you can contact him via Twitter, maybe leave him a comment in Medium. Those obviously are not going to be the most straightforward way to get a hold of Tom. So going back to our resources, the next place I might check for a company, especially somebody who's in the Bay Area, is Crunchbase. So we will open that up. Maybe. Okay, we'll do it the old-fashioned way. Oh, here we go. So Crunchbase has a lot of information about company founders and other folks, particularly people in the Bay Area, and sometimes it does have contact information. And if we go back to LinkedIn, we did see down here that he had a couple other companies. So hey, maybe he's got some info on his bank page rather than his climate page. That I'm not sure, but maybe we'll find out. So it gives you like a little overview. It will connect you to some of his social media accounts. That was the same stuff that was listed on this Next Gen Climate account, which is what it's listing. It's also listing the bank and then his other former company that made him all of his billions, and then same kind of stuff that we had got on LinkedIn, except some of this industry news may be relevant to your research. Okay, well, we didn't find anything. Let's click on the bank and see if we can get anything out of the bank website. So we'll get into this company view. So over here, or in our initial one, we were in a person record in Crunchbase. This is how the company records look. There's not that much information about them, but so it does say we do have like an email and beneficialstate.com, so that might help us later if we're looking for an email address. Okay, so we'll go back into the banking site. About us, our people, our leadership probably, most likely. Board members, look, Tom Steyer's down here. And again, it's going to be an overview and some information on social media, but we're not going to get like a contact information, unfortunately, from these websites. So, what we might try is looking up his companies on the Secretary of State's website. And sometimes there's good information here, contact information, whatever. Let's look up Next Gen Climate. Search. So we can see he's got a couple of listings here. Frequently, you're just going to have information about who the agent for process is, which is, sometimes helpful, sometimes not. This statement of information is sometimes helpful, but if it's a big company, likely it does tell you his title, he's president, tells you some other people working there, but then it basically has his, attorney information and the type of business they are. So sometimes if you don't know a lot, it's really helpful. Obviously, when it's somebody like Tom Steyer, who's quite big, you will know stuff about him, and it won't be that much information. But it's all publicly available, stuff that you might be curious about. So that was one of the listings. They've updated this, so you can go back to search results. It's quite a more friendly interface than it was before. I can tell you from looking at this ahead of time, we're not going to find anything new. But let's try Beneficial State Bank and see what we find here, if there's anything. If you haven't done a lot of prospect research in your life, then you can kind of see it's going into a lot of resources, a lot of screens. You're not necessarily getting hits on the first time. It takes a lot of steps and perseverance, but sometimes you can get the information you need. So you can see he's not a CEO or anything of the bank. He is an advisor of this bank, so that is not super helpful for us either. So we're going to leave the business Secretary of State website and get back to our resources here and see what else we might try. So this one resource, it's called Who Is I Can, is pretty amazing. This resource is a service that basically tracks registered domain names, and the idea is to figure out who has a domain name and make the internet more transparent. So we can start with this Beneficial State Bank. One trick of the trade, it doesn't like the www part of these things, so you can just leave that off. I'm gonna look this up. It will often have like this CAPTCHA thing so that it's not like bots overloading their system. Okay, so, well, this is, tells you someone who registered it, an address, a phone number. I mean, maybe we just want to try this phone number if we're that desperate. And again, it gives you the same at beneficialstate.com, and I'll tell you why that's helpful in short order. I'm gonna go back. It's over here too. This is a different contact person, A Walker, and then the one that's showing up for this email is this Rick Lopez person. Which, hey, maybe that's somebody that you actually do want to get a hold of, but maybe not. Okay, so let's try this Next Gen Climate now and see what comes up in the ICANN. Okay, so now we have a different information, Chris Fadoff, and then we have a more generic email, Webmaster at Next Gen Climate. So still no hope for finding Tom. But since it's summer, I'm going to show you an example where you're not looking for Tom Steyer, and you may actually find this feature quite useful. So let's say it's summer and you want to have an event and you want to get sponsorship, you want to have ice cream at your event. And you know there's this local ice cream place called 8 Degrees Fahrenheit. You go to their website, you can't really find a contact information. It's just about us and there's no email. Okay, well, we want to look and see who owns this website. So let's go back to ICANN. This time we're going to search the Fahrenheit, 8 degrees Fahrenheit ice cream. And it's going to make us do a CAPTCHA again. Okay, great. So look, there is somebody's name, an address, and an email, and it's a Gmail account. So you can be pretty sure that that will be the contact information and you can reach out to them. So I would say the ICANN Whois source is really great for smaller businesses, small business owners, but people are getting more and more sophisticated, and so they can use third-party companies. You can pay money on GoDaddy to hide who owns your website and that sort of thing. But it's always worth a try. It only takes one step to look this up. So let's say we have this email now. These next two sources are our email verification sources, and that is how we're going to check and see if these emails are actually active. So this email, verifyemail.org, has a lot of ads and stuff in the top. You just want to come down here and look. So we're going to search this 8 degrees Fahrenheit ice cream. It's going to come back and say, yeah, that's a good email. And what it does is it pings a server and makes sure that it can contact. So Mail Tester is another similar kind of service. There's a lot less noise on this website. And we can search on here as well. And I'll show you how this one comes back. So this says servers found for Gmail, but then this one says it doesn't allow verification. So I think, you know, using them both combined is a good idea. We can kind of test this email address that was listed over here on Crunchbase for Beneficial State Bank and see what happens. Computer's going awfully slow today, so I apologize about that. I guess I can test it on here. So the reason I was saying we want this beneficial state end to the address is because you can see this one was A. Walker and that original ICANN we did was R. Lopez. So one would imagine if it was going to be the same format, first initial, last name, this might be Tom's email at this bank address. So let's try and see what happens when we do a search. So see, it says bad. Beneficialstate.com exists, but this T Steyer is not a valid address. So this one, it was able to say this beginning A. Walker was a valid address. So let's try T Steyer over here and see if we get the same return. So these email verifiers are great for verifying that an email is even like a valid email address, but there's no way to know whether it's the actual person you want to contact, right? If it's Jane Smith at Gmail, well, it could be many people, and it's not necessarily confirming that it's the person you want, but it is confirming that it's a valid address. So this is also saying that T-Styer is not an address. And so you could play around. You can try Tom Steyer, you can just try Steyer. The idea is hopefully you can guess based on other instances of the email or based on variations on his name and get one of these to return back that says yes, it's a valid email. So you could do the same thing. I will tell you that this verifyemail.org, there's a limit, I think an hourly limit of five searches. So you might just try Tom at beneficialstate.com. See what comes up on this one. And then again, Tom Steyer, that's not a valid email address. And it may be he's a board member. Maybe he just doesn't have an email there. So you could go through the same process with NextGen Climate. If you find one email address, you may be able to, use that and back into Tom's contact information. So that's those two. The next thing that folks often also want to know is political giving. So let's look at the political giving for Tom Steyer. So Open Secrets is an overlay. They're pulling the data from the Federal Election Commissions, which we'll look up in a second. But this interface sometimes is a lot more user-friendly, and it's a bit more easy to work with than the FEC. So I want to show you this first. So here, you probably want to look up his full name. I know his full name is Thomas, so we're gonna try Thomas Steyer. And then you can select a state. You can leave it blank. You may or may not want to do that depending on how common the name is. You can say, oh, I just want to go for the last cycle or any of these cycles. I like to look at everything. So I tend not to constrict my returns so much before I know what I'm looking for. So that didn't return anything. Let's try Tom. No returns. Okay, that's weird. So some glitch in the matrix. So here he's coming up, Tom Steyer, Fairlawn Capital. And you can see they've got it categorized. Monies to parties versus monies to candidate, monies to PACs. So this is a really helpful view. And you can see Tom Steyer again, Fairlawn Capital. He's here under a few different names. Tom Steyer, Thomas Steyer. You can see the company name is written differently. I mean, they're just filling these forms out by hand. And so sometimes, who knows how it goes. But you can copy and paste this into, they don't have an export feature, but if you just select all this, you can copy it into Excel and then you can do some sorting and it sort of comes out fairly clean there. You can get some subtotals on his giving. And then really quickly, I'm going to show you the FEC website just so you know how it works. And hopefully that will get you started. So the FEC website is quite similar. So in this one you do last name first, Steyer, Tom, get listing. And then you can see same thing. But here's a different listing of his company, FAHR LLC, and then all these GIFs. These are all political gifts. And then you can see his newer listings, Next Generation, co-founding director. And they have this split out as well. We have a subtotal here. They also have political action committee breakdown. And so yeah, this is a great resource. You can kind of dig in here. And the other thing that's interesting, which you can kind of tell, you can see here he's got an address that's listed at 94104 and also 9411. Sometimes it's an and then this one 94065. So when you click into this image number, it will bring you to the page. These are all reported on a page. That's interesting. It didn't have his address. Oh yeah, here we go. 3 Lagoon Drive, Suite 400. So that's probably a business address. If we go back and click on this one, 3030 Pacific Avenue, that might be a home address. So you just have to sort of dig in, and you can kind of utilize the information here to find, oh, they maybe have more than one address. Sometimes he uses middle initial, sometimes he doesn't. Various positions he held or titles he held over time, and of course, the things that people most care about is the types of places he's giving. Obviously, he's giving a lot to his own PAC, which is no surprise. So anyways, that sort of wraps up the research resources. As far as looking at one person, there are other research resources in the handout. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can contact me at mlass@berkeley.edu, and you can find me on LinkedIn and Twitter and all those sorts of things. So please utilize this information and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Thanks so much. Hope this was